Session number 3 is opportunity monopolized. People labor under the false idea that they're living in a universe of lack and limitation and not enoughness. Please understand that the universe is the manifestation of the order, the harmony, and the intelligence of the mind of God. It is infinite. It is abundant. As a matter of fact, the visible universe is the tip of the iceberg of what is contained within the mind of God. The good that you are seeking, the good you wish to express in your life, the good you wish to embody and reveal comes from a source and a supply that is infinite beyond measure. You have the capacity to release all of that power and to reveal it in your life now. There's the unmanifest and there's the manifest. There is the visible, there is the invisible. There is the wave, there is the particle, if you want to use quantum analogy. So understand, you're living in a sea of abundance. As you begin to realize this, as you begin to understand this, you'll begin to understand that there's infinite opportunities in front of you all the time. There's infinite capacity within you all the time. There's infinite power within you all the time. The great secret is available to all. You don't need to be a special person. You don't need to be born under a lucky star. Your numbers don't have to be lined up just perfectly. This secret, when you begin to understand it, will change your life, and it is now available to you. Listen to session number 3. Is opportunity monopolized? Bob Proctor will explain exactly why it is not.
Many years ago, I read where Emerson said, "What lies before you and what lies behind you are tiny matters compared to what lies within you." And as you go through this particular session, you're going to find out that Emerson was right on the money. Waddle said, "You are not kept poor because opportunity has been taken away from you, because other people have monopolized the wealth and have put a fence around it. You may decide not to engage in certain kinds of business, but there are other channels open to you. At different periods, the tide of opportunity moves in different directions, according to the needs of the whole and the particular stage of social evolution which has been reached. There is an abundance of opportunity for the man or woman who will go with the tide instead of trying to swim against it. Office workers, either as individuals or as a group, are not deprived of opportunity. The workers are not being kept down by their masters, by the powers of big business and the conglomerates. As a group, they are where they are because they do things in a certain way. When it begins to do things in a certain way, the working class can become the master class. The law of wealth is the same for it as it is for all other groups. Workers will remain where they are as long as they continue to do as they do. The individual worker, however, is not held down by the ignorance or the mental slothfulness of one's class. This individual can follow the tide of opportunity to riches. This seminar will create conscious awareness of the great secret of life. No one is kept in poverty by a shortness in supply of the riches. There is more than enough for all. A palace as large as the Capitol at Washington could be built for every family on earth from the building material available in the United States of America alone. Under intensive cultivation, this country could produce enough wool, cotton, linen, silk, and food to clothe and feed each person in the world. The visible supply is practically inexhaustible, and the invisible supply really is inexhaustible. Everything you see on earth is made from one original substance, out of which all things proceed. New forms are constantly being made, and older ones are dissolving, but all are shapes assumed by one thing. There's no limit to the supply of formless stuff or original substance. The universe is made out of it. But it was not all used in the making of the universe. The spaces in, through, and between the forms of the visible universe are permeated and filled with the original substance, with the formless stuff, with the raw material of all things. 10,000 universes can still be made, and even then the supply of universal raw material will not be exhausted. No person, therefore, is poor because nature is poor or because there is not enough to go around. Nature is an inexhaustible storehouse of riches. The supply will never run short. Original substance is alive with creative energy and is constantly producing more forms. When the supply of building material is exhausted, more will be produced. When the soil is exhausted so that foodstuffs and materials for clothing will no longer grow upon it, it will be renewed or more soil will be made. When all the gold and silver has been dug from the earth, if human beings are still in such a stage of social development as to need gold and silver, more will be produced from the formless. The formless stuff responds to the needs of humans. It will not let them be without any good. This is true of man collectively. The race as a whole is always abundantly rich. If individuals are poor, it's because they do not follow a certain way of doing things which makes the individual person rich. The formless stuff is intelligent. It is material which thinks. It is alive and is always impelled toward more life. It is the natural and inherent impulse of life to seek to live more. It is the nature of intelligence to enlarge itself and the quality of consciousness to seek to extend its boundaries and find fuller expression. The universe of forms has been made by formless living substance, throwing itself into form in order to express itself more fully. The universe is a great living presence, always moving inherently toward more life and fuller functioning. You know, the more you think about this, the more powerful it becomes. You've got to understand that just because you can't see something, that doesn't mean there's nothing there. We're centered in a dynamic, creative, spiritual power. And we've been gifted with phenomenal mental faculties. We can change anything in our world, but we've got to understand these basic concepts that Wallace Wattles was genius enough to put in print for us. Nature is formed for the advancement of life. Its motive is the increase of life. For this reason, everything which can possibly minister to life is bountifully provided. There can be no lack unless God is to contradict himself and nullify his own words. You are not kept poor by a shortness in supply of riches. I shall demonstrate a little further on that even the resources of the formless supply are at the command of any man or woman who will act and think in a certain way. The great secret of life is available to all. And you know what that means? That means you, and that means me. And the only thing we will ever lack is awareness. And as we expand our level of awareness, we're going to see that we do have phenomenal powers. Spirit is always for expansion and fuller expression. It's never for disintegration. I have become aware, after studying this material for the past close to 50 years, that if a program of personal growth, which this falls into that category, does not have a spiritual foundation, the program is incomplete. This is a complete program. It is, without question, the most complete program I have ever come across insofar as developing great wealth. And you've got it in your hands. You're listening to the explanation of it right now. You want to be filled with gratitude. Just repeat to yourself how grateful you are for having this phenomenal material to expand your level of awareness. Let's take a look at the questions that go along with this particular segment of the Science of Getting Rich. The first question is, show that opportunity cannot be monopolized. Now, of course, if you're sitting down somewhere where you can write out your answer. If you're not, just think about it. If you're driving along or walking down the street, really give that some thought. Show that opportunity cannot be monopolized. The answer to that is in this particular segment of the program. The second question, explain why the world's workers have their future in their own hands. It's such a magnificent concept and it's understood by so few. Explain why the workers have their future in their own hands. Next, ask yourself the question, what is meant by the invisible supply? What are we talking about? All the way through the program, we're talking about this invisible supply that permeates and penetrates and fills the inner spaces of the cosmos. What is meant by invisible supply? And last but certainly not least, how would you explain the secret to a stranger who is ignorant of this great truth? How would you explain the secret? Good question. You have the answer? I'm going to tell you something. When you have the answer to that and you can share it with someone else, the universe is going to abundantly reward you. All right, now, from the exercise section of this particular segment of the program, we take and we understand that all things are possible. Now, if opportunity is not limited, and you can have anything you desire, I want you to begin making a list mentally or physically on a sheet of paper, what you really want, what you seriously want that money will buy. That's a great exercise. Now, understand this. Deciding what you want is your responsibility. How it's going to happen is God's responsibility. So don't worry about how it's going to happen. This is a great exercise. You're writing down or you're thinking of what you want. You're not spending any time thinking of where the resources are going to come from. You're not spending any time thinking of where the money's going to come from, where the help is going to come from. The only prerequisite is want. What do you seriously want? Make a list. Make it dynamic. Everything you've ever seriously wanted. Just visualize that there's a creative energy that's flowing to and through you. And as it flows into your consciousness, you've got the godlike ability to be able to turn it into an image of anything you want. What do you want? See, the problem has never been getting what we want. The problem is deciding what we want. I have come to the conclusion that the average individual has a governor in their mind that stops them wanting at a certain level. And if you're wondering what the level is, it's usually at the results that they're presently getting. Take the lid off your mind. Let your imagination soar. See yourself with all the good that you desire. There's no limit to what you can have. Visualize that funnel of creative, pure, unadulterated spirit flowing into your consciousness. And you can think of anything you want. You can make anything out of it. Go ahead and make up your list. Give some thought to it. Remember, it's what you want. Now, the last exercise in this particular segment of the program is Opportunity Monopolized, is for you to write a short essay on how this particular segment of this program will affect your business dealings. And remember what Waddle said, you don't get rich by doing certain things. Getting rich is a result of doing things in a certain way. Go ahead, make that essay, write it out. This is Bob Proctor, and thank you.
Hello, this is Jack Canfield. This session is one that I really like. Is opportunity monopolized? You know, I learned at a very young age that opportunity can never be monopolized. As I pointed out in The Secret, in the early stages of my professional career, I had the very good fortune of working with W. Clement Stone. He had the unique ability of turning what many would consider a bad situation into a tremendous opportunity. Thankfully, as a result of spending time with him, some of that rubbed off on me, and I have certainly benefited from it in some amazing ways. In the very first line of this session, Wallace Wattles was right on the money, when he said that no person is kept poor because opportunity has been taken away from him. And in another part of this session, Bob Proctor emphasized a couple of lines that should capture everyone's attention. Bob pointed out that the visible supply is practically inexhaustible, and the invisible supply is really inexhaustible. Everything you see on earth is made from one original substance, and there is no limit to this original substance. Therefore, no person is poor due to the fact that nature is poor or that there's not enough to go around. That's just not the way the universe works. There is always more than enough to go around. Unfortunately, most people are simply not aware of it. Right now, you're probably not aware of what you're feeling in your left foot. But as soon as I say left foot, you become aware of it, don't you? Your left foot is there, sending out signals whether you're aware of it or not. But as soon as I mentioned it, your awareness expanded to take in your left foot. Likewise, the abundance of opportunity is also always out there in the universe, whether you are currently aware of it or not. Fortunately, you are now participating in this program, which is expanding your awareness so that you will start seeing these opportunities everywhere. As our understanding of this abundance of opportunity takes root in our consciousness, we begin to recognize that regardless of where we are or what we're doing, opportunity is always staring us right in the face. All we have to do is become aware of its presence. And by working through this program, studying each page, completing each exercise, answering every question, you're not only going to become aware of its presence, you're going to be enjoying the benefits of the good life, just as everyone in The Secret is doing.